Hey, hello, hello. My name is Brittany Lewis. I am an artist, illustrator, and graphic designer. And Sundays is the day that I go live to work on my dream project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot. So if you're here for the very first time, or you're here for the third or fourth time, whether you're watching this live or watching the replay, I really, really appreciate you being here. So today is really exciting. I am like a ball of energy for whatever reason. I've been at the gym pretty tough this week, so I think it's got me extremely energetic. But before we get into it, let's do a little bit of housekeeping. As we start, we're going to go through the creation of a brand new card this week. So I'll get a chance to show you all the old card, the card that we were working on the previous weeks of the previous live stream. So I'm super excited about that. But before we get started, please do me a huge favor and hit the thumbs up button. That lets YouTube know that you value this content, that you love seeing me live, that you like or find any of this interesting. And it also helps YouTube know that other people might find it interesting as well. So please do me a huge favor. Another way that you can support this stream and this project, the Cosmic Gateways Tarot, is by going to my website, blewisarts.com. Once you get there, you get greeted with this lovely pop-up that allow you to have free shipping on your first item. And we have plenty of things in our shops, from t-shirts to journals to canvas prints, you name it. There's plenty of stuff there, right? All of that will be linked in the description. So without further ado, let's get into it. So I'm really, really excited. Again, we've been working on the Two of Swords, I think, for the last maybe 5 or 6 episodes, right? And I am finally finished with it. And I'm going to show you guys really quickly where we started. So anytime I go into planning tarot cards, I try to plan them in groups of 4. And so with the twos, this is no exception. I did all of the twos from every suit, one of each suit, and everything followed the plan for the most part, except for a few things, and we'll get into that in a bit. So we have done our Two of Cups, we did our Two of Pentacles, we did our Two of Swords, and today we're going to work on the final two, which is the Two of Wands. So just as a refresher, in our reference box here, we have the original source material, the Two of Swords from the Rider-Waite-Smith Tarot deck. And this card represents decision-making, decision-making, sort of making a choice, that kind of thing. But to me, being someone who has to be very conscious about how I design cards and thinking in terms of how a new reader may read with these cards and the things that they may be able to get. Hey, Liz, nice to see you. Just the general messages and things like that they may glean, to me it does not read as decisions. So I wanted to make a very deliberate effort to create something that when you see it, you see that the character has to make a choice. So here is our finished card. If it's going to load up for us, it should. I'm hoping that it will. Now, again, we've had about 5 or 6 episodes creating this card from start to finish, with the exception of the sketch. But I think it came out really, really well. Now, for you guys, the colors aren't quite as bright as they are for me looking at this particular card, but I think we did a really, really good job developing this card. Now, again, this has to do with choices and making a decision. So when I went into designing this card, I wanted to make sure that that was the most clear message that I could send in the artwork. And we spent a lot of time working on the background, specifically the swords and the, just the clearing, right? That became our focal point. And then I developed over time the foreground. Now, again, this took me a lot longer than I would have liked for it to take, but I think it shows. I think it shows that I spent a little bit of time on it. It really, really came out nice, and I'm super proud of it, and I'm happy to be done with it. So, just to give you a refresher of what the other twos look like, we also have the Two of Pentacles, which was our figure who was dancing in the ocean, and she was juggling the pentacles. And then we have, again, our Two of Cups. Now, one of the things that I always find interesting about my work, especially if I haven't done any illustrations in a while, and then I sort of jump back into it, is that I can see the growth between cards, right? So this is, it's going to take a minute, but I'm going to show you guys the Two of Cups, and then I'll kind of go back and show you the sequence of cards that we've created since the Two of Cups. So here's the Two of Cups. Nothing wrong with it. I think it's really awesome. It is the mirror or sister card to our Lovers card. So when I went into designing this particular card, I wanted to sort of keep that in mind. So the color palettes and things like that are the same. It's not bad. It's not my favorite of the bunch, but it's not bad. It looks awesome. But as I progressed and I developed the Two of Pentacles and then again the Two of Swords, I can tell visually that they look a lot better to me, right? So we are moving into the Two of Wands, right? Now, here's the thing about the Two of Wands. I have a relatively busy schedule, right? So the plan was to have the sketches prepared for today so we could just jump right into painting this, just as we've done with the rest of the cards. However, I have not finished the sketch. And I was having a little bit of sort of a back and forth with myself because one, I don't I'm not a fan of like drawing in front of people, right? So part of me doing these live streams is sort of getting over the fear of creating in front of people. And so we've done a wonderful job. I think I've loosened up quite a bit in that regard. But painting and drawing, to me, in my mind, are two separate things because by the time I get to the painting stage, I've worked out all of the kinks and things like that for whatever it is that we're working on. But in this case, I have not done that. And so we're sort of smack in the middle of finishing up this sketch so that in the coming weeks we can go ahead and wrap up this picture. Now, in my mind, I don't really believe that this is going to take as long as some of the other pictures have taken. Fingers crossed, we'll see. But there is no rush. Things happen the way they're supposed to happen. And so we're just going to roll with it. Now, the Two of Wands is a card that deals with planning. And this is a card that I had a really tough time figuring out how I wanted to articulate it. Now, earlier I mentioned that most of the cards have pretty much gone according to plan. This is one of those cards that has not. And, and I'll show you, I shouldn't have closed it, but I'll show you here in a second what the original idea was. Oh, here it is. Okay. So my original idea was something that sort of stuck with me for a while. It was something that I was like, from the very beginning of this project, had an idea of what I wanted to create for the Two of Wands. And my idea was to create sort of a war council scene with like a general, standing over the war map and the wands being the sticks that sort of move the pieces across the board. I had trouble articulating. I had a lot of trouble articulating that particular idea. So I had to pivot. Now, last week we talked a little bit about some of the lessons and things that I've learned sort of managing a project of this size and allowing myself to be patient, allowing myself to be inspired by all of my own experiences, all of the things that I've observed as I live and grow and things like that. And this was one of those things that I had to learn, was to pivot. Sometimes cards don't come together the way that we wanted to. The project started that way, right? So I started with the High Priestess, which was initially the Chariot, very first card I ever created. And I had to pivot. It became the High Priestess from the Chariot. So here we are pivoting again. Again, the card itself deals a lot with planning. To me, the idea was a solid idea, but I could not figure out how I wanted my main character to look. And so I just kind of changed plans and went with more of an adventure sort of planning situation. Now, the trouble that I found myself in and that we have to work through today is that though I have this whole scene sort of laid out, I don't know yet where to put the wands. And I don't know where to put them where they don't feel like an afterthought. And I don't know where to put them that would make sense to the scene. I think the scene reads the way that I want it to read, right? After I've sort of come to the conclusion that I think this is just a better composition, the whole thing. I don't know where I want to put the one. I don't know where I want to put them. So we're going to figure that out. I do have a couple of ideas. I don't know. I guess we can explore that now. So again, my goal today is to sort of wrap up this sketch. Some of this is gonna be a little rough. It is. It looks good, but we have to flesh it out so that I have something complete, in full to draw on or to paint on later on next week. So again, planning is the sort of subject matter of this card. And initially I had sort of the war council planning and things like that. Now, if you see me looking down, just a little more housekeeping, I am looking directly at my pen display and I'll be drawing in real time. Again, this is something that I was a little bit hesitant to do because it's normally it takes a while to look the way that I want it to look, but this is sort of the transparent part of the process of being an artist and things like that. And again, you have to show yourself grace and patience if you are an artist or an aspiring artist, and maybe things are not coming together as quickly as, yeah, Lee. Okay, great. Lee asked, am I open for suggestions? Absolutely. Please, because I have no idea where I want to put the ones. Now, I'll share with you my ideas, right? And then you just tell me how you feel about it. Now, initially, I was thinking about Okay, I'll show you. Let me show you. Okay, so I have some wands sort of propped up against the bookshelf here, but they look like pool sticks, and they just look thrown into the scene, right? The other idea that I had was to actually make them actual like magic wands, right? And sort of put them on the table and sort of articulate the table where the maps don't compete with the wands, so they kind of stand out, right? Yes, awesome. So thank you so much, Lee. Awesome. Lee says she's absolutely loves the working and conceptualization of the Two of Wands card. I really, really appreciate that. So yeah, that's sort of where my thinking is right now. This card is going to be sort of the companion card to the Hierophant, because the way that I planned out the Hierophant, and I'll show you here as soon as it loads, is that so for me, the Hierophant is the card that I have the most trouble with, because it deals usually with religion. It deals with sort of a very stiff conformity, that kind of thing. The way that I reframed the card was to think in terms of a griot, or like a librarian or historian or someone like that. So this is sort of an offshoot of that idea. So I have them sort of in this library setting. Now, what I have been also sort of kicking around in my mind is, instead of having this bookshelf, maybe have the books at the top and sort of make this into like an arch window, so that maybe you see the wands on the outside. I don't know. I have no idea. I was going to show you guys the other wand card, so you guys can kind of get an idea of how I approach that. And I might still do that here in a bit, but I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure it out. So I wanted to show you guys also the reference that I'm working from. So if you're an artist or an aspiring artist, and you are pulling from references, and you are just sort of using references as you create or not cars, but just compositions in general. You don't necessarily want to copy exactly the reference, but you might pull bits and pieces from those references. So this was a reference that I found of, I guess they're discussing blueprints. I love the way the characters were posed. I didn't need a third character because I didn't want to have to draw three people. However, the main guy who's pointing at the map, I think, reads as someone who's planning out an idea. And I like the idea of having a second person to sort of corroborate that story and sort of, fill in the gaps that, yeah, okay, well, we're planning this together. So it all makes sense, like he's talking to someone. Now, I just took the pose, right? Took the pose, and I took the paper on the table, made the table bigger. And then what I wanted to do was add and change the background. So by the time we finish with this, the only thing that'll be common between the two images is going to be the pose. They're going to be two completely different people. It'll be a completely different background. I've already eliminated one person from this particular thing. Hey, okay, so Lee says that's what I was envisioning. The wands could be incorporated into what the two characters are engaging in. Yes, so that's pretty much the idea that I'm leaning toward. And again, there's a way for me to articulate that in the picture, so that I don't give so much information on the paper. That way that the wands themselves will kind of stand out. So that's super important, because again, they're not even going to read twos, right? Or two of wands. They're not going to be labeled two of wands, similar to the way that I have our two of swords here. And I'll show you that real quick, just to get an idea of how these will be laid out. So I think that's going to be a great idea, just to sort of have them there, because again, it still says planning. The card still reads as planning, and then we just have the wands, and of course the two at the top of the page. And I think that's going to work out really, really well. So this is sort of what the layout is going to be like. So just only thing is, it won't have the black border. The black border just symbolizes the part that's going to be cut off when it goes into printing. But I won't label like two of wands or anything like that, the way that I have the like Queen of Pentacles and the major arcana cards. All right, so let's get into it. So I think what I would like to do, again, I showed you guys, and I'm gonna show you what I had like propped up against the thing. Again, I don't really like it because it looks like two pool sticks. And I mean, I guess it could work if it works, if I do it in a way that marries and meshes within the scene. But I don't know. We're gonna figure it out. So the first thing I think I would like to try is maybe just kind of placing them in the scene, the wands, and then go from there. So again, normally this is something that I would do, just sort of in my free time as I work on this project outside of a live situation. However, I am happy to invite you into sort of what it is that I do. It may be a little less talking than normal. Lee says, "Oh, that's a good idea." So Lee says the ones could appear as large tattoos on both the characters. For now, that's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea at all. Okay, all right, we're gonna play with it. We're gonna play with it, Lee. I sure appreciate you. Yes, that's not a bad idea at all. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do is create a couple variations, right? So we'll do the window scene just to kind of see what it looks like. We'll put some wands or like, I don't know, maybe pencils or something. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Some magic wands or things like that in the foreground and see how we like it. And then I will need to finish drawing the faces and things like that. So I could, like you said, because this could be like a secret society. See, I like you, Lee. Y'all, my peoples. I always have really, really good interactions with you guys. I really love it. All right, so yeah, so we can do them like the secret society tattoos. That's not a bad idea at all. All right, so what I'm going to do then is I am going to duplicate my books layer. So we'll try this scene first. So we're going to duplicate this books layer, and I'm going to do I'm going to label it book window. And all of this is happening in the layer panel right above me. So if you guys are looking at the screen, it's this sort of area right above me. So we're going to label it books window. And then what we're going to do is turn off our old layer. And then I am going to erase the bottom shelf books. Because the idea that I had in mind, and I just want to try this out again, we're just at this point, we're just playing. So we're going to enjoy it while we can. And so what I'm going to do, I also have a, let's see, there it is. I also have a perspective grid activated. And so that sort of helped me lay out the shape of my window. So what I want to do, I believe, is I want to create a, let me go. Actually, you know what? I'm going to draw in an arched window. And then we'll merge all of that together. So here we go. I'm just drawing this in. Now, again, this doesn't have to be perfect because typically before I go into drawing, I'll tighten everything up so that I'm just, basically painting, right? One of the things that you guys may notice is that I don't do line art in my work, right? So I don't really have to have like really beautiful lines, just so long as I can tell what I was thinking at the time that I was drawing or painting something, then I'm good in that regard. So I'm thinking, I don't know, thinking sort of like an arched window, and immediately I don't like it. It's an immediate no. Okay, let's backtrack a little bit. All right, so instead of an arched window, maybe we take the shape of the bookshelf, right? And maybe we just plug in a window. Here we go. Uh-oh. And just kind of follow our guidelines a little bit. What was I following? It's this right here. Yeah, I believe so. Right? Something like that. I don't know. Child, I don't know. But we'll have like our maybe like 2 trees or something. Or like a double branched tree. And maybe that can represent our 2 wands. I don't know. I don't think I like this idea now that I'm trying it out. Okay. All right, so that's idea number 1. We're gonna not even go get too attached to it. I'm gonna throw this into a folder, and I'm gonna do wands idea number 1, right? And then I'm gonna turn it back off because immediately I don't like it. All right. So let me turn my books back on, right? So there are original books. I'm actually going to turn off the perspective grid because now I can see a little bit better. And the second idea was to have the wands on the table. Right? And again, I just created a new layer, and it's going to be somewhere up here, right above the books layer. So if I'm painting it in layers, it'll show up on top, even though they won't intermingle at all. But that's where it is. And so I think what I would like to do now is somehow place it. Let me look. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit, see where I can place it where it won't necessarily be in the way, but also will read. Now, one of the things that I do when I set up my canvases for any of the cars is that I add guidelines. I had to do a little bit of math because of the way that Clip Studio Paint works, where I wasn't able to create the bleed outside of the artboard, so I had to sort of manipulate it some kind of way. So I did that. So what we have is our innermost box is represents sort of the border. So let me show you. So this gold border, right, is our innermost box. And then everything on the outside, like this area here, that's all going to be cut off. So that's something that I kind of have to bear in mind while I do that. So I don't necessarily want the wands to sort of compete too much with the bottom of the screen because I know that much information is going to be cut off. So I think I want to place one. I don't want it in the way, right? I don't want it to just feel arbitrary. I guess I could sort of place one, I don't know, maybe somewhere up in here, right? Just the general shape. It doesn't have to be fancy or anything like that. And as I'm looking at it, I think maybe I should turn this around, something like this, right? So it's near his hand. So like if they're working on the table and their tools, it'll be somewhat near his hand. And then maybe I would put the other, I don't know, somewhere like this, right? I don't know. Of course, this needs to be tightened up. And they'll probably end up looking like Harry Potter wands by the end of it, just so that we get a good wand representation. But something like that. They could also actually be rulers. Now that I'm thinking about it, they could also be like pencils and things like that. So I do have options considering the scene. However, for now, that's sort of the concept we'll go with, right? Okay, so that's wand idea number 2. Okay. All right, I'm gonna turn that off and then we'll try the tattoos. And again, none of this is gonna look great. It'll look better next week. Or by the end of this, of course, it'll look better. But for the time being, this is not perfect by any means. At this point, we're just enjoying ourselves, right? So one of the things that you guys hear me say all the time is to make sure that you make time to do something that you thoroughly enjoy. I thoroughly enjoy playing. To me, this is play, even though it's work, it's very much play. And I enjoy it. I look forward to Sundays every week. I look forward to see you guys. I look forward to reading your messages and things like that. So again, if you're watching this live or the playback, I really, really appreciate you being here. All right, so here's our reference, right? This is our pose reference. And so I guess maybe if I had to put it could go on the inside of his arm or it can go on the outside of his arm. Let's try it do something like on the inside of his arm. And this is just the general shape, right? Again, this is probably going to be a lot more fleshed out. And a tattoo is a good idea for a couple of reasons. I had a whole run of creating art where my pieces had tattoos. Like everybody had a tattoo. Everybody had a tattoo. I did when Game of Thrones was real big, I did 2 of the characters, Jon Snow and Daenerys Targaryen, where I changed sort of the style of the way that they looked. And they had let's see, Jon Snow had a neck tattoo, and then Daenerys had like the shoulder tattoo. Tattoos are definitely in my wheelhouse in terms of what I usually represent. So I think that's a brilliant idea. It would be something like this, right? Something like this. I don't know. The only thing would be is that whatever I put them in clothes wise would have to sort of, cut off at somewhere near the elbow or something like that so that we can actually see the tattoos. So that is idea number 3, right? So the tattoos in the arms, not a bad idea. I really enjoy that idea. I'm honestly leaning towards on the table just because I think they're working through this or planning whatever it is that they're planning. I think it makes a little bit more sense, especially with the with my first idea, which was I wouldn't have known unless I had played with it. We play with it. I don't like it, so we gonna keep it moving. But then I'm sort of between the tattoo idea and the wands on the table. I think I'm gonna go with the wands on the table just for now, and then as I sort of think about what my characters are going to be wearing, I may still play around with the tattoo idea. So we'll see. All right, so there's that. Now, the other thing that I can do in this sketch really quickly is I'm going to go ahead and finish up the background, which is this bookshelf. Books are super easy to draw, and I'm going to show you guys. They're rectangles. I know when Lee, Sam, and I were on our live stream a few weeks back, one of the things that I talked about is breaking your pictures down into basic shapes, right? Exact same concept, and it's easy because they're literally. Okay, awesome. Lee says she likes the wands on the table too. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's where we're gonna go. I think it makes just a wee bit more sense to the scene, but we'll see. We're gonna play with it, right? All right. So I'm just going to draw in these books, and books will have them of different widths and different heights and things like that. This is pretty much the easy part. The challenging thing I can see will probably be doing their faces, which is why I'm really, really glad I was able to find that one particular reference point. But I'll show you guys sort of what that looks like as well. Now, again, I don't have to have like a very clean sketch because I don't use line art in my work. I just need to be able to see what it is that I'm trying to articulate. That's very important. I need to make, all of my important decisions in this stage so that when it's time for me to actually go in and paint, I'm not like, oh goodness, what should I put in his hand? That kind of thing. I don't really want to spend too much time doing that when it comes time to color my pictures, right? So this may be again a short live stream. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. One of the things that I would love to do is wrap this up, wrap this part of the picture up, the sketching, and then from there we can decide what to do next. Now he might have some things on his he might have a few things on his bookshelf, maybe a pyramid or two, or some little statuettes and things like that to fill in the space. So we might draw some of that in, just drawing in basic shapes. And again, I am working. If you see me looking down, I am looking directly at my pen display, and I use a Huion Canvas Pro 24 4K, and I upgraded to this tablet after receiving a grant from one of the local art organizations, which allowed me to be able to afford this nice big old tablet, which is really nice. But I actually started my digital painting journey. Maybe I would say 2000. I always say 2006, 7, 8, somewhere in there. I started with a Wacom Bamboo, which is about an 8x10, I would say, drawing tablet. It's one of those that instead of me looking directly at the screen, I would actually look at my computer screen. So if I was drawing, let's say the screen that I'm looking at will be my main screen. I would actually look there and draw on my paper or on my tablet. And so I learned a lot of hand-eye coordination, which was nice. And I drew on that thing for years. I drew on it for a really, really long time until I moved up to the Intuos Pro, also by Wacom. Now, Wacom, if you're unfamiliar, is a tablet company or company that makes pen displays and tablets and things like that. If I were to grade them on a tier scale, Wacom is your S tier brand, right? Best of the best. However, with that comes a hefty price tag when it's time to upgrade. And I believe, just from my experience using this Huion, that Huion really is right up under Wacom, right? In terms, it's I will say in terms of like pen display. I don't know much about like the other tablets that they sell, but I can with confidence say that this particular pen display, I have enjoyed thoroughly. And you guys may be able to hear some of the sort of way that it sounds. It sounds like pencil on paper. It draws beautifully. It's like drawn with butter. It's real nice. But before I got here, when I upgraded from Wacom with my first pen display, I actually used a company called XP Pen. Now, at the time XP Pen came out, or at the time that I bought my tablet, I don't think XP Pen had been around for very long. They would be, I would say, maybe a C tier brand. They were at the time, so I don't know how it's upgraded over the years. However, at the time that I had purchased my pen display from them, I think it was like $500. I got off Amazon. Actually, my dad bought it for me because I know I was stone grown, but I was like, "Hey, Dad, you mind helping me out? You mind helping me out with this?" And he did. So he sponsored my pen display, my very first pen display. The thing that I did not like about that one was that at the time the pen displays had sort of a screen protector on it, right? So in order for you to get that nice pen to paper texture, you had to use this screen display screen protector, and it would lift. And then it would get old. So I had it for many, many years. And then I was like, okay, let me take the screen protector off. And after that, the drawing experience wasn't quite the same. And then fast forward, I ended up with the Huion. Highly recommend this particular Huion tablet. I enjoy it. It's really, really nice. The only problem that I would say, and this is just me being fair, is that sometimes it might just be my computer. Sometimes the pen sort of goes out. Now, this does not plug into anything. This is the stylus pen that I use. It does not plug into anything, right? It has like a little receiver that hooks up to the side of the monitor. And so from time to time, if I'm not drawing with it, it'll go out. And so in order for me to do that, or in order for me to reactivate it, I'll have to like open up the drivers. And so it's a whole thing. But that, and the fact that I tend to work very dark, but only because I can't tell when I'm looking at the pen display. I sort of have to keep an eye on my in this up above. So we go all the way up to the top where we see where it says restream at the top. That is my color tablet or my color panel. I have to keep a very close eye on that in order to see sort of how light or dark I'm working, because it's hella bright. It's super bright. And so it's some, like I said, sometimes it's very difficult for me to tell how light or dark a thing is, especially if I'm like really, really in the groove of something. I'm not paying attention to that. And I don't know until after I've completed, the full illustration. And now I'm in post and I'm like, why is it so dark? you know, so that's just something to sort of keep in mind. And all of that, I'm sure, can be corrected with color calibration. I don't have time for that. I just don't, be honest with you. I do not have time. So I just sort of, deal with it as I can, or the best I can, I should say. And correct things in post. And that helps me learn also some of my graphic design programs. So when I'm doing design work, it's not necessarily an issue because usually we're working from a set palette and things like that. So colors is not a problem. But being able to sort of change the saturation of different things, being able to change the curves and all of that stuff in post sort of helps me get better at, my graphic design stuff. So things that I wouldn't normally do. So, all right, we've got our bookshelf for the most part pretty much done. I think that now that I'm looking at it, I want to create a little bit of space between the shelves so that this feels more heavy, like a lot of the like antique bookshelves tend to feel. So I'm going to create a little, just lower my, or make my books a little bit smaller so that I can draw that in a little bit later. And I think that's going to get it right. All right, so we got our books in. Next, I want to draw or work on the characters. I think we're going to work on the characters, and then we'll put some flats in and we will see where it goes, right? So we're about 34 minutes in, so we're doing good. We're making some really, really good timing. So what I did do when I was drawing these characters is I put sort of the face placement in. That's so that you guys wouldn't have to see me figure that out. So I know exactly where my eyes should go. I know where my nose and mouth and all that should go. So we're going to just jump right on in. All right, so I'm going to find my people layer. And before I draw on the actual people layer, I'm a layers person. Some people don't like to do a whole bunch of layering. Again, layers are is the panel right above my head in the main screen. I like layers because if I make a mistake or if I change my mind or, I want to try something out, it doesn't mess up anything that, I've done previously, right? All right, so now this guy is looking at a map. So we want to make sure that his eyes are pretty much going to be shut, I think, for the most part. What I want to do is turn this down. And I think I'm going to turn off my books for now, just so I can get, a better look at, there we go. So it's not so distracting. All right. So drawing faces, and before I get to bragging too tough, this I probably shouldn't, just in case this is going to be tough on me. I don't think it will. Drawing faces is one of my favorite things to do. His brow is going to be about right here. Hey PL. Okay, PL says she agrees the wands look great on the table. Thank you so much. Yeah. All right. Awesome. Oh, okay, Lisa. I'm sorry, I missed your comment. It says, what would you recommend for a super newbie to digital art and just drawing in general? A budget conscious recommendation for premier option. Okay, awesome. That's a great question. So if you're going into choosing a drawing tablet, there are a couple of things you need to take into consideration. The first thing is the first major decision you should make is what are you going to be drawing on, right? So are you going to be using a desktop or do you prefer a tablet like an iPad or things like that? If you're going to do a desktop, then you have a whole slew of options. And of course, if you're going to do like the mobile iPad thing, then it's its own thing, right? So you have your iPad. I think Samsung makes a tablet. So you have a whole list of things like that. Me, I personally enjoy drawing on a desktop better. That's just my preference. That's kind of how I came up in digital artwork. So anytime I'm looking for a new tablet, I'm generally looking for something for a desktop. If you're going the desktop route, I would always start at I would not spend like I think this tablet was like $1,200. I wouldn't go there first. I would kind of see if you enjoy digital art before making a huge investment or a huge leap such as that. So I would probably recommend going the Intuos Pro route. They make because only reason I say this because I don't know if they still sell the Wacom bamboos. I have no idea. It's been so long since I've had mine, but I do know that they still sell Intuos Pro. So I tell you what, let me here's what we'll do. I'll show you. And again, Wacom is a solid brand. That's who I started with. So I'm going to show you guys what those look like. Okay, so this is Wacom brand. Again, when it comes to like drawing tablets, your Wacom brand is going to be your S tier product, in my personal opinion. So I don't have a whole lot of experience with the regular graphic tablets from Huion, so I can't from experience recommend those. However, I have worked with two of the different pen tablets from Wacom, and one was the. Now see again, I don't. Oh, there it is. Okay, they have. Well, I don't know. I don't think they make bamboos, not the same way that I once used, but if you were to go with something, your regular pen display or tablets, or not pen displays, your regular pen tablets are probably going to be the best option if you're working on a desktop, right? So I'll show you the Intuos Pro. So before I switched over to XP Pen, I used Intuos. I think it was a Pro. I used the Intuos Pro, and I had the large, I believe. But anything like this is going to be really nice. Again, this is something that you will draw on, but you'll look at sort of your screen. So whereas where we're working on this particular card, I'm looking directly on the thing that I'm drawing on, similar to you like painting on a canvas. So I'm actually looking at my pen display and I'm drawing directly on my pen display. The way these work is that you plug it into your laptop or your desktop or, like a computer, and you draw on it, but you're looking at the screen. Some people have a little tough time with that because it is again a hand-eye coordination. But if you're starting, because that's where I started, that's what I would recommend. The other thing is, of course, the iPad. Now I have my iPad here, and quite honestly, and just me being honest, I really don't use it. If anything, this is usually my TV screen. So like if I'm working on my desktop, I'll have it set up to the side and I'm usually like watching a movie or something on it. I don't use that thing. But if this is if that's something you're comfortable with, it's definitely an avenue to explore, right? All right, so these are the Intuos Pros. This was my second pen display or pen tablet that I had. And again, I think I used the very large one, then I gifted it to one of my nieces. And I ain't seen it since. so that's that. Now, when you want to upgrade, if you want to go with the pen display, most professionals use the Wacom Cintiq Pro. When it comes to this particular option, that and what I'm currently using are sort of neck and neck, and a lot of people have actually switched from the Wacom Cintiq Pro to the Huion, which is the tablet that I currently draw on. I like it, if I feel like if those people, some of them were people that I was super familiar with, And I knew they knew what they were talking about, and when they recommended it, I was like, okay, cool. So that's the one to go with. So I'll show you also Huion, which is the pen display that I am working on currently. Now, again, these hover around $1,200 or so. And again, this is something that you would hook up to either a desktop computer or your laptop. It just kind of depends on what you like to work on. So I'm glad you're asking these questions. So I know when we talked the last time, I was like, "Oh man, I was looking at it on the screen, but y'all couldn't see what I was looking at." so, so this is where we are. Okay, so this is the tablet that I'm currently working on. So when you guys see me look down, this is exactly what I'm looking at. I have this mounted on a Amazon monitor arm, and it's sort of mounted to my desk, and it just sort of I can pick it up and move it around and things like that. And I like it. But this would be something that I would invest in after you decided that, sure, I like this. No problem, Lee. I really appreciate you asking that question. It was a great, great question. Because I know I was going to set aside like a whole video, but y'all, it'll take me forever to make that video. So I'm really, really glad that you asked. This was a perfect time to do that. So I appreciate it. And it gives me a reason not to sort of fiddle with that sketch. Because like I said, I usually do that on my own. So I'm procrastinating it a little bit. So thank you so much for allowing me to procrastinate with you by answering these questions. I appreciate you for that. All right. So yeah, this is the Huion. And then I'm hearing about a company called gosh, what is it called? I think Sense Labs. Sense Labs is I think, yep, this is what now. I don't have any experience with Sense Labs. The only reason I know about Sense Labs is because I know that through working with the Graphic Artists Guild, they've done some partnerships with Sense Labs. So Sense Labs is another sort of option that you have where they create similar pen display tablets and things like that. I don't know anything about the company, but it is a company that is available. So if that's something that you want to look into, that might be something to, do some research on and things like that. So this is another alternative. And again, I think XP Pen was the company that I used before I switched over to Huion. So I've worked with three. So that's Wacom, XP Pen, and now Huion. And I really enjoy the Huion. So it looks like, because I hadn't seen the XP Pen in a long time, looks like they've come a long way from when I started working with them. So again, this might be a very budget-friendly option, especially if you're leaning towards doing a pen display, which again is the thing that you want to plug into your computer and then you draw directly on and you're looking at the screen and it works like a second monitor. That might be an option to do because again, they're pretty budget-friendly. I think at the time I had tablet the same size. I think it was a 24-inch tablet, something like that. And I think I paid like $500 for it, or my dad, because he bought it. Thank you, Dad. But yeah, my dad sponsored it for me, and I think it was like $500. So that's something to sort of look into. And again, if for programs for desktop, my preference is going to be Clip Studio Paint because I started working in Photoshop back when, that was pretty much our only option. I think it was Photoshop and maybe Krita. And Krita is currently available for free to anyone who is interested. It's an open source program. And it works very similar to any other digital art program. You have your brushes panels, you have your layers and such like that. But it is a free option to sort of get into and explore. If you're going with the iPad route, Procreate is probably the most popular option in terms of creating digital art and working as a digital artist. Just me being honest again, like I have Procreate. I have used Procreate, but only for sketches. So I have never done like a full digital painting in Procreate. It's a program that I guess because I'm used to it, and I'm getting a little bit older. I don't really have the patience to sit and try to learn all of the tapping and the shortcuts and all of that. It's not for me. But it is an option. I know it is a popular and very valuable option and very inexpensive option to sort of look into. So if that's, something that you enjoy, there's a lot of resources, a lot of brushes and things like that you can get for Procreate. In terms of your desktop and your laptop programming, again, Clip Studio Paint is just where I am at. I also do have Corel Painter. I don't necessarily like Corel Painter because it is, so let me backtrack. Typically with a lot of these programs, because they know that people are sort of going from program to program, a lot of the functions are pretty similar, right? A lot of the shortcut keys are similar. If I hit B, it's going to bring up brush. If I hit E, it's going to bring up eraser. And so most of the programs follow that protocol, right? Corel Painter, for whatever reason, does not. It's a whole thing. However, if you're looking for something that has a very painterly feel, right? Corel Painter is that sort of program. It emulates like pastels and oil paints and things like that extremely well. It is very difficult to learn, just from my experience. Now, I've done sketches in Corel Painter. I had a whole run where I did like a daily portrait just as practice. It works beautifully. I always got a really beautiful outcome from it, but sitting and try to figure out, what buttons to push and all of that slows you down significantly, because when you're doing digital artwork, your shortcut keys are like, your best friends. Matter of fact, this particular program, Clip Studio Paint, you can get a remote that looks like this, right? And you can program it to do anything you want it to do. It works Bluetooth. And if I'm scrolling and things like that, it's just a matter of clicking buttons, and that cuts down the amount of time that you have, going through all of the menus and picking the different settings and things like that. Well, Corel Painter, it's very manual, very manual. It's just a unnecessarily difficult program. I don't know why. I don't know who developed it or what it is. The other thing about Corel Painter that I do not like is that it's similar to the way Adobe used to work. Adobe used to put out a program every year, every single year, right? And so where you may buy 2005 Photoshop, 2006, in order for you to get the upgrade, you had to buy a completely new license, which could run you a good pretty penny, right? And then you do that every year. The same thing sort of happens with Corel Painter, where they have a 2019 version, a 2020 version, and so on and so forth. And so it's like, I don't know. It's not my thing. But again, Clip Studio is sort of where it's at for me. It is one of those programs where they do have upgraded several versions. Now, I think they're on version 3. I'm on version 1 still, and it works fantastic. I'm gotten pretty used to it, and it was a good, easy transition from painting in Photoshop. So that's my little spiel on digital artwork. Listen, I love those types of questions because, again, it's something that I'm really, really passionate about. I've got a lot of experience in. I've made a lot of mistakes in. You guys are going to sit here. I ain't going to put that in the universe. I was going to say, y'all going to sit here and watch me make mistakes real quick, but I don't want to put that in the universe. But yeah, it's, I've learned quite a lot over the years of being a digital artist. So there are lots of options out there. You don't have to spend thousands of dollars on a drawing tablet or anything like that. You can get into it free in terms of programming through programs like Krita. Clip Studio Paint is pretty inexpensive. I think the full license they have a couple versions. They have Pro and they have EX. I work in EX. I think it's like $124, and then it's a perpetual license, so you don't have to renew it every year unless you want to upgrade versions. And even if you upgrade, I think in order for me to go from version 1 to version 3 during a sale, it's like $80, right? So it's not a whole lot. Again, you're getting a pretty solid return on investment, because it's something that you'll use if it's something that you like. So we're back on our picture. You know what? I started with this guy, but I should have started with the other more straightforward face, and I think that's what I'm going to do. But yeah, digital art is one of those things. It's funny because I'll see conversations. For whatever reason, people think that digital art is one of those where you just click a button and things sort of draw themselves. And, I've done this live stream since June 30th. You guys have watched me live work on 3 cards. And you guys can see firsthand that I haven't clicked any buttons. Lee says, I definitely appreciate you sharing all this great insight with us. My pleasure, Lee. It's definitely in my in my wheelhouse. There's a few things that people can ask me about that'll get me really, really talking. But I'm really glad to be of service, and I'm glad that it was helpful. All right, so we're working on this particular card, and I'm using my reference over in the reference box, the guy with the sort of afro ponytail. I'm using his face as a basis. I don't want to draw him exactly. I'm just sort of plotting where things go. As a matter of fact, I don't even know if this is going to be what gender this is going to be. I have no idea yet, but we'll figure it out. I don't think I want him to be smiling, so I think I'm going to adjust that. I don't think I want to be frowning either, but sort of maybe a neutral face. And we're just plotting in information, right? He has his eyelid here, and then his brow. Let me take it back a few steps. His brow here, right? And then he has his jawline. And then he has his chin. And then the chin comes up. He has his ear sort of right here. And then his hairline, he got a big old forehead on him. So his hairline come up here, something like that. And then it'll come down if he's a guy. We don't know yet. If I'm going to make him a guy or girl. But if I were to want to articulate a gender, I would do so in the sharpness of the features, right? So with a guy, you want to think more angular. Guys tend to be more angular. So if that's his jawline, and his chin might be a little bit sharper, and we'll go up something like this, right? With a female figure, right, or someone who identifies as a female figure, we would do this much more rounded. So it wouldn't be as sharp. It would be a lot softer, right? And so that's how we would distinguish between the genders. And then, of course, once we get into his hairline and his physique and things like that, we'll be able to tell sort of the difference in whether this is a male or female. I think it feels better, and it might just be because my reference is a male. I think I'm going to keep him male. And then we will just add some little details and things like that. Now, again, none of this is going to be perfect, and it doesn't really have to be. Again, I'll tighten this up way later, but I do want to share with you guys the process of like sort of what how I would approach a sketch, from pretty much the start. Now, hands are one of those things that can be a little bit tricky, but there is a mobile app that I use called Handy. And Handy is nice because you get head shapes, right? You get hands and you get feet. And I'll show you guys what that looks like. So if I were wanting to, and this is Handy, right? I'm hoping it focuses in. I don't know how clear that is, but Handy is nice, right? If I wanted to do heads, I could choose between female heads, male heads, or masculine and feminine heads, old people, skulls, and things like that. And then I can click on it and I can move her around, right? I can't pose her features. That's the only sort of drawback with this particular app. But if I was wanting to, let's say I'm having him looking down, right? Oh, this is a woman in this case. But if I have her looking down, oh, anyhow, I can have her looking down and I can pose my character based on the way that her features are sitting, right? Really, really nice. And you can actually change the lighting. So if I wanted to articulate my wands as candles, for instance, and the candles are hitting the people's faces where the light is like lighting up the bottom of their noses and things like that, I can actually adjust the lighting in this particular character, and it'll allow me to, see what that looks like. Also does, again, hands and feet. So anytime I have trouble with doing hands or feet, and then it differentiates between masculine and feminine, so male and female hands. You can also change the race. So if it's a darker skinned person or a lighter skinned person, you get those options as well. So you can kind of see how the light hits and reflects off of the skin. Really nice. So you get all of these, and I'm hoping it'll focus, but you get all of these sort of hand pre-designed sort of hand poses, and then you can go into it. Say I have something, let's say I want to have like this sort of look, right? I'll find the hand that's closest to that, and then I can go in and actually articulate each of the fingers. So Handy, if you guys are into Painting, you maybe have trouble with hands and feet. Handy is the way to go. All right. So Lee says, do you have additional recommendations for aspiring self-taught digital artists? Are there teachers, classes, resources, etc., that helped you develop and hone your skills over time? And this will be for folks that don't have artistic bond in their in their body and don't have a background art and design. Uh, ah, I don't. Okay. So when I was learning to do digital artwork from the beginning, I was completely self-taught, right? I think that's the case for most artists. I think the only thing that we learn in school really and truly is sort of the basics. So your color theory, how to measure the face and things like that. Some of the things that I showed you guys in our last live stream or the few live streams ago. In terms of teachers, there are a couple I think that do really well. Mark Burnett is on YouTube, and all of these guys are on YouTube. So Mark Burnett does really, really great instructional videos specifically for digital art. There's also Aaron Blaze, and let me see. Oh, you know what? Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm gonna pull it up on YouTube so you guys can see who these people are. And I don't know if I'm logged in or not. I'm probably not. Okay, cool. All right. So I'm gonna show you. Mark Burnett. I think it's Burnett. Is it Burnett? I'm not sure. Mark Burnett does really good. Yeah, Brunette, excuse me. Mark Brunette has a whole sort of art school. He does a wonderful job sort of going through the process of teaching digital art. Probably a little bit better. I don't know if I ain't gonna say probably better than I could, but I'm gonna say he has a lot more experience doing it, right? So Mark Burnett is one of those people. Aaron Blaze is another great one. I like Aaron Blaze, or I connected to Aaron Blaze because I used to like watching speed paintings or digital time lapses, and so he has a whole sort of bunch of time lapses and things like that. So I learned a lot of it. Hold on. Pause. There we go. So a lot of the things that I learned sort of was okay. Let me see how to paint waves, for example, and then I will go and sort of watch a tutorial on how to paint waves. In terms of learning anatomy, there is a guy named Proco who I really like, or a channel named Proco. I don't know if the guy's name is Proco or not, but he does a great job of showing you how to draw faces. Like, stop drawing wrinkles this way, right? And I want to pause it because there we go. We don't want no smoke. But Proco does a great job in terms of doing introductory drawing basics and things like that. So all of these guys are over on YouTube, and there are a lot more. Matter of fact, what I will do is once this live stream wraps up, what I'll do is sort of make a list, and then I'll pin that as one of the comments, and then you guys can check it out. But for sure, those three do beautiful jobs, right? The other thing is, of course, paying attention to the things around you, right? So even if it's digital art, right? To me, digital art and traditional art, the only thing that changes is sort of the mediums that you use, right? So with traditional, you might use pencils, paint, so on and so forth. With digital, you're just using a pad, using a tablet. But the main thing is to get your basics down. So one of the things that I would highly recommend is studying and observing the world around you, right? So I remember, Lee, that you like to draw sunflowers. So pay attention to how flower petals are, the shapes and things like that. Always keep in mind what basic shapes you can see. No problem, Lee. It's my pleasure. Make sure you pay attention to basic shapes, right? Make sure you are observing things around you. Go out to parks and things like that. Now, one of the things that we do here in Memphis, and I'm almost certain if they do it here in Memphis, they do it in lots of other places, is that they have at the Brooks Museum a live drawing class at least once a month. I think this month they have like 4 of them. And basically you pay a small fee, and they have models and things that come in. Some are nude because that's just how it is in college. We would paint nude people. That's a reality. So some are nude, some are clothed, and then some are like long poses. So maybe they'll hold the pose for like 15, 20 minutes, sometimes longer than that. And it'll allow you to, paint or draw whatever it is that they're, whatever pose they're making, right? If you can find some classes like that, and then what's beautiful about that is that you're in an environment around other artists, right? So if you're painting a model, y'all, you're in this group of people, maybe 10 to 20 people, you can actually get feedback or sort of pay attention to how the next person is doing a certain thing and then incorporate those techniques into what it is that you're working on. And so a lot of it came from being self-taught in terms of how to like use the programs and stuff like that. But the art basics are the same across the board. If I'm painting a portrait, because I actually have a portrait and I hadn't decided if I'm going to record it or not. I probably won't. I don't know. We'll see. But if I'm painting a portrait, I will approach the portrait the exact same way I will approach the digital portrait, right? I'm measuring the eyes the same. I'm measuring the faces the same. I'm laying them out exactly the same. The only difference is the medium by which I create them, right? So in my case, because I work so much on my computer, I actually start to lay out my portraits and stuff on the computer. I print them out and then I transfer them to my canvas. So that's the sort of main thing. But those channels that I showed you guys are great channels to look into. And one of these days, I don't know, Lee. It might be in my, it might be the pocket for me. I might be showing you, I know me and Sam are going to be doing some things later on where I can kind of show you guys some more techniques and things like that. Because there was so much more that we could have covered in our last live stream. But I was like, I don't know if this is, I don't know if I'm giving you the right amount of information, but we'll work that out. But that might be something that we do sort of later on, and you guys can ask me questions about certain things. Maybe we do an episode on setting up your canvases in the digital painting program. How do you measure for that? How do you prepare it to print and that kind of thing? But there are so many resources and things like that online for for free, which is awesome. Oh, one of the other guys that I wanted to show you was the what is his name? I think his name is, let me see, hold on. He has a whole school, and I think it's called Schoolism. And Schoolism is nice because you can actually go and pay like for a month and you have access to all of these online classes. So this is Schoolism. Now, the guy that runs this course, whose name escapes me right now, I think it's Mike Chu or something like that. I ain't really sure. But if you can pull them up on YouTube, he does really awesome live conversations with other artists that I always find very inspiring. But they have all kinds of courses and things like that that you can take. And they have a lifetime access program. They also have a subscription access program. And I like that. Even though I'm not pro subscription, I would prefer to just pay for something and be done with it. But one of the beautiful things about doing the subscription is like, Benchu, excuse me. Let's say you pay for a month, you have access to all of these different classes. So if there's something specific that you want to learn, introduction to comics, right? You have dimensional drawing work. They have lighting classes. They have the business of art. All of these things you can have access to through their subscription program. And I think they have it where you can even get critiques from some of the, I know a lot of this is self-paced, but I believe they have it where you can get critiques from the people who are actually teaching the different classes and things like that. But they have buku classes. So many things. Caricatures. Now, see, when I found Schoolism, caricatures was something that I was interested in. So that was a class that I wanted to take. At the time, they didn't have the subscription. It just wasn't in my budget to do the full lifetime access thing. But now that might be something that I would look into. But Schoolism is definitely one of those websites that I would highly recommend. One of the other things is that I currently work with, I do some work with the Graphic Artists Guild. So I know one of the things that we're developing is a mentorship program. So that might be something to look for later on down the line. But for sure, Schoolism, and then again, some of those other classes that we showed on YouTube. All right. All righty. So we've gone actually about an hour, and I didn't we at least settled on where we wanted our wands placed, right? I guess I could we're gonna finish up this first guy, and then I think we're gonna call it a day. But this has been great. I'm so glad, Lee, man. I'm so happy that you asked those questions. I really appreciate that. Again, like, it gives me an opportunity to take a break from making decisions on this picture that I ain't ready to make, right? But also, I enjoy so much talking about what it is that I do. That's really a big reason of again, holding myself accountable to work on this particular project. But also, one of the reasons why I do this live stream is so that you guys can get an inner glimpse of what it is that I do as a digital artist, and sort of what it takes to do that. Now, again, I know earlier, I don't know if I finished this conversation, but I know I have seen lately, especially lately with the advent of AI art, where people do not understand what digital art is. Again, if we are comparing it to traditional, let's say we're comparing illustrations, right, to traditional pen and paper illustrations versus digital illustrations, the functions are the same, right? I don't spend any less time drawing on digital than I do drawing traditionally. As a matter of fact, I actually draw faster traditionally than I do on digital work. There really are not too many shortcuts. There are some things that I can do. For instance, I can copy and paste and things like that to make my workflow go a lot faster. But you're drawing just the same, right? I think someone asked recently how long was one of my longest drawings. I've spent 48 hours over like, I don't know, 3 weeks or so working on an illustration. And that's normal, right? Whereas if you guys go through my YouTube channel, there are ink drawings where I did portraits for ink drawings. I would knock them things out in like 3 hours. So I don't think one is more easy than the other. I think it's just a matter of deciding which skill you want to learn, making sure you lock down those basics. So even if you don't want to get into digital art, you maybe want to do ink portraits or whatever the thing is, you at least have that solid foundation, and that'll transfer across mediums, right? It'll just be a matter of learning the medium. So yeah, digital art is definitely art. It's definitely something that I spend a lot of time doing. I enjoy it. Again, it's a lot less mess. So when I am having to do paintings like the portrait that I'm trying to decide whether or not I'm going to record or not, I have to pull out my easel, right? I got to set up the canvas. I got to move things out of the way so that I have space to pull out my paints and make sure I don't get paints on stuff that I don't want paint on. And it's just a whole production, right? Whereas I got my computer here, I got, my camera here, my pen display I'm looking down at, I can just sit down and get to work. So it's what I do. It's what I prefer. What I prefer. I know I love a good painting, right? It's very, very relaxing. It's something that I thoroughly enjoy doing when I am doing it. But like I said, one is not better than the other. It's just a matter of preference. And it's really just a matter of learning and mastering your tools. So yeah, I think we settled on having this be a guy. I think I'm pretty set on that. Um and then he's just sort of standing here. And what's nice about this is I know some of this is going to be cut off, so I don't have to do too much up in here, right? Because I know all that's going to be cut off. And then his hand, I'm definitely gonna come back with my handy reference, because hands are one of those things that I either really nail or I just need help with. Need help with. It's just the truth. So the truth of the matter. But one of the beautiful things about being an artist, I feel like, or being just, existing in general and doing something that you really enjoy, making time for the things that you enjoy, is that it doesn't feel like work, right? Even when it's something that, like, that's an ugly hand. It's ugly. but the beauty of it is that I get to play around. It's gonna give me the idea of the hand, and then I'll tighten the thing up later. All right, so that's person number one. I think we're gonna give him long sleeves. Just keep it as simple as I possibly can. Then we're gonna get on this other guy, and then I think we're gonna wrap it up for the day. So yeah, thank you again, Lee. I really, really appreciate you. And thank you all. If you're coming in here, whether you are watching this live again or if you're watching the replay, I really, really appreciate you being here. If there is something that you want to know, let me know. I'm always an open book when it comes to creativity and things like that. I think because I enjoy it so well, like it is my absolute favorite thing in the world to do. I definitely don't mind sharing, because I want you guys to enjoy it as well. Enjoy it as well. If it's something that you're into, I want you to be able to, enjoy it and find the answers that you like. If I don't know the answer, and I'm one of those types of people, some people are real uncomfortable telling you they don't know. If I don't know something, I don't know. If I don't know something, I promise you I don't know. So I'll do my best to sort of point you in the right direction. Again, once this is over with, I'll probably go and compile a list of YouTubers and websites and things like that I think would be helpful if you are getting into digital artwork specifically. Some of this will be helpful for you just in case you want to, explore different, um, just different things. Whether you want to learn how to see, you know what, it ain't looking right. But if you want to explore sort of like, how to paint portraits and how to do different things like that, I'll have all that information. I'm not going to put it in the description. I'm going to put it sort of as a pinned comment so that you guys can come back and, find it later. It'll be at the top. And again, if you have any questions or anything like that, be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you enjoyed, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know. So I think rather than try to fit this square block in the round hole, I think I'm gonna pause it here and then I'll do this outside of live. But anyhow, if you have any questions about anything like that, please be sure to leave them in the comments below. And if you like this live stream, because we're gonna wrap this thing up. It's been an hour and 10 minutes. I think we did pretty good. If you enjoyed this live stream and you want to see more of it, please, please, please hit that like button. If you want to learn when I go live next or when I upload a new video, be sure to hit the subscribe button. And I think we're going to leave it here. Thank you so much again, Lee. Thank you, everyone who came through, whether you are watching this live or the replay. I really, really appreciate you spending this Sunday afternoon with me. All of the information of all of the things that I use and different ways that you can support myself, this project, and this channel will be linked in the description below. And until next Sunday, peace.